Hey everyone, this is Laura of TheRealLauraB here on YouTube and on Twitter. I am back this week with a weekly roundup. I skipped it last week. Instead, I highlighted some Depp fan artists. So I thought I'd just pull up the week or end of the month in this roundup. So there's a few things to pull out, and I think we'll be adding more if more drops before I finish this video this week. But let's get started.
Hi, I'm Laura, also known as TheRealLauraB from Twitter, and now here on YouTube. I'm a researcher, new wave internet media, and commentator. I'm not a lawyer, nor offering any legal advice. Join me on a journey to review the world of celebrity lawsuits and current events. Let's get started.
Welcome back, and thank you. Well, it's been a battlefield on Twitter and YouTube, and we really feel like there are certain entities trying to shut us down, trying to stop our free speech, trying to mischaracterize our speech, especially trying to scare us away, limit us, and outright shut us down. So the biggest story that's going on right now is with Nate the lawyer suing Bot Sentinel. So let's start with how this is the best thing I found, and entertainment-wise, kind of sum it up. And this is from Saqib Ahmed. He is a satire writer under a different name. In the next story, Rolling Stones, or whoever is throwing stones, we uncover recent bout with members of LawTube, Nate the lawyer versus C. Bouzy, which is Bot Sentinel. We review how man's residual reputation was stripped in broad daylight on Twitter streets. And this is what's happened. And he writes under Jane Hillbill. Rolling Stones, whoever is throwing stones. Two gunslingers from LawTube stripped a man's residual reputation broad daylight on the chaotic streets of Twitter. We have Nate the lawyer and Runkle Bailey. This is Ian. We engaged. It's been a busy week of drama surrounding the recently published report by Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones collaborated with the CEO of Bot Sentinel, Mr. Christopher Bouzy, to produce a report that indicates misogyny, racism, and targeted harassment by YouTubers. We are engaged. Company headquarters or the kitchen table. Mr. Bouzy, while operating from his company headquarters, which apparently is his kitchen from the screenshots we've seen behind the backdrop, opined that YouTube and creators are seemingly profiting off of hate speech. Due to recent revelations of Mr. Bouzy's past, we are yet to confirm if Mr. Bouzy has been able to pay his rent for his company headquarters, or, as usual, squatting on someone's premises. No receipts were left unchecked. Attorney has many successful professions under his belt, almost as many as Mr. Bouzy's scams. In the report, Mr. Bouzy identified several creators who allegedly engaged in misogyny, racism, and targeted harassment. One of those creators identified was Tennessee's Finest, that umbrella guy. Unfortunately, the report, which looked like a report from a third grader made in PowerPoint, presented several quotes from the umbrella guy, which on the surface appeared inconclusive. Moreover, the report provided no context while making bold proclamations to an unsuspicious reader. It might be believable, but people aware of Mr. Bouzy's tendencies and past were skeptical. One salient point, which was conveniently not mentioned by Rolling Stones, is that Amber Heard previously hired Mr. Bouzy, and there might be a conflict of interest or apparent bias. After being called out by Twitter's users, Rolling Stones finally made a stealth edit, which too was caught by Twitter's users. Enter Ian Runkle, a prominent member of LawTube who looked into the receipts, as Mr. Bouzy calls them, and found Mr. Bouzy, as usual, was acting shady. In a 20-minute clip, Ian dismantled the receipts. No receipts were left unchecked. It appeared Mr. Bouzy combined several quotes spoken at different times and presented them as one sentence. In one case, a fragment of the quote was said 6 hours apart from the previous one. Mr. Bouzy deceptively showed it as one combined sentence. And I will link Ian's video here in the description because this was important. Talk about cherry picking. Bouzy was pulling out segments over 6 hours in one video to put together a statement that was just not true. It was completely out of context. However, Mr. Bouzy did not quote Britney Spears' famous songs, "Oops, I Did It Again," or acknowledge his mistake, but instead doubled down by launching ad hominem attacks at Ian Runkle. However, Mr. Bouzy, while in the midst of being stripped of any residual reputation, Forgot these are actual lawyers, not average Joes on Twitter. He will make this mistake again with an even more lethal member of YouTube. Love LawTube and pay for it big time. Enter Nate the lawyer. Another prominent member of LawTube, Nate is a highly entertaining lawyer on YouTube covering various public cases with high energy and contagious enthusiasm, making dull law concepts digestible. He is also African American, this will matter in a sec, and had a difficult childhood where his parents had addiction issues. Nate is open about it and fully embraces the challenges he faced in his early life, as he should. Nate overcame all these challenges and successfully pursued various roles, including becoming a lecturer, cop, and successful attorney. Nate has many successful professions under his belt, almost as many as Mr. Bouzy's scams. But back to Mr. Bouzy. His attack shifted from Ian to Nate, and all hell broke loose. Clearly, Mr. Bouzy miscalculated when he tweeted that Nate's parents were crackheads. The attorney's opponents take early vacation. What followed by Nate can only be explained as a drive-by shooting where Mr. Bouzy's reputation was stripped bit by bit on the chaotic streets of Twitter. Nate brought Mr. Bouzy's dirty laundry in public, his failure to pay rent, his several bankruptcies, and his shady past as a crypto scammer. Nate turned into hit 'em up Tupac, providing receipts upon receipts. The evidence was shocking. Mr. Bouzy now is a verifiable bum, does not pay his rent. In the receipts provided by Nate, the landlord lamented Mr. Bouzy is a pathetic, broke, and a 40-year-old bum. Mr. Bouzy's attempt to gaslight the landlord did not work, flood zone excuse. Or the landlord replied, just pay the rent. We have yet to see an end to this drama, as Mr. Bouzy is still trying to gaslight the public by questioning the actual lawyers. But this trick is yet to work. He's getting cooked. Will be interesting to see if Rolling Stones will offer an apology or if other MSM outlets will be discouraged from using Mr. Bouzy as an expert amid the revelations of his fascinating past, to say the least. Nate's previous target, Kate Tenbarge, has taken an early vacation after being exposed. We'll be interested to see where this disgraced CEO is headed. So that's what we have right now. He went on and doxed Nate, put out all his private information. So Nate got fed up, and there was a lot of claims that he wasn't a real lawyer, that he scammed. I mean, there's a lot of claims. I don't want to get into it because I think it's more important that we see what Nate actually files. This is Nate's, he's on YouTube, but this is his Twitter page also, where he has a lot of information. His YouTube is listed here, his locals channel, his Rofkin. Let's go. We have the best defamation lawyer in New Jersey. We have a great case. We now need your help to stop. Here's your chance to help us get justice. So he has a Donately page set up to help cover his expenses. And this really affects the entire community, anyone who follows these law tubers. But they went after that umbrella guy, and he's not a lawyer. They misquoted him. So it's really good if you can come and help Nate and support, because right now he's reached his $30,000 goal for the initial filing, but it may take a lot more than that. He also has a new update. Good morning. For those following the Bouzy case, here is where all the documents are going to be uploaded. It is free to sign up. You do not need to pay anything. The documents are available to anybody who wants them. Nate is proceeding, since you all donated for him, in full transparency. Full transparency. And he's going to follow it on his YouTube channel too. So I think that's what most of what I need to cover right now, other than what that umbrella guy has to say. Taylor Lorenz just dropped her hit piece with me in it, less than 1 day before Amber Heard's Warner document drops and 5 days after the Rolling Stone hit piece. She, of course, quoted Bot Sentinel without disclosing his hiring by Heard, where they admit false flagging. And this is, let me just show you a little bit about this. This is the article. YouTube remains rife with misogyny and harassment, creators say. YouTube creators who sounded the alarm years ago see this company still has a problem. And 90% of this article is about YouTube creators. It's not about that umbrella guy. It's not necessarily about Depp. This is Heard. It's about that women on this platform don't feel they're getting as much attention as male YouTubers, as male creators. That's what they're saying. Women creators weren't doing well, according to an account of the meeting in the new book. Like, comment, subscribe, Inside YouTubers' Chaotic Rise to World Domination. Many were dealing with vicious harassment, bullying, stalking, he recounts. The toxicity on the platform was escalating, they said, and networked attacks they face online were growing more threatening. This has nothing to do with Depp versus Heard. They're just trying to suggest that women on YouTube aren't getting a fair shake. Ingrid Nielsen, a popular beauty blogger, was dismayed when Bouzy offered what she felt was empty sympathy with no commitments to fix the problem. YouTube just didn't have an answer. They knew the mess was a really big one. She had been bullied and doxxed by a fellow YouTuber. A report issued last month by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a British nonprofit, declared that harassment against women is flourishing on YouTube, though the platform recently banned the online men's rights influencer Andrew Tate. He amassed millions in revenue. Other channels espousing similar ideology are posting regularly and using the platform to grow their audience. The report concluded some channels are still uploading Tate's content to YouTube Shorts. Again, has nothing to do with that umbrella guy. Harassment and cyberbullying are not allowed on YouTube, and we have clear policies that prohibit it. We're committed to rigorously enforcing these policies equally for all creators. But in interviews with the Post, seven creators detailed how misogynist creators mobilize their audience to attack certain women creators. If a woman creator goes viral, they said, they will undoubtedly be subject to a waterfall of hateful comments. Posting on YouTube as a female creator, we're walking across a minefield. But let's get into this. I mean, they're going on and on about this. Then they finally introduced they call it the Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp defamation trial. And I don't know why they put her name first, because they're the only ones who have done this. Was a pivotal moment to online harassment, emboldening misogynistic YouTubers and allowing them to collectively mass millions of follows. Depp won his lawsuit against Heard. Creators said the trial and the verdict normalized a level of hate that has become commonplace on the platform. I was getting called Amber Heard a lot during the trial. I had people tell me they wish I died. It's constant. I'm always adding new filters to my comments because that's all I can do. She has nothing to do with this. So just because a person believes Amber Heard lied and we call her out for lying, that doesn't make us misogynistic. That means Amber Heard lied, as the jury said. The fact that she's a female has nothing to do with this. So suddenly they now pounce on that umbrella guy. Matthew Lewis, a YouTuber in Tennessee known online as That Umbrella Guy, has grown his following to more than 400,000 subscribers, largely by posting anti-Amber Heard content. That's not true. He started off in comic books commentary, and he's done a lot of other pop culture besides this. It's not just been about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, although that has brought him the most views. Depp's lawyer said he'd been in communication with several YouTubers, including Lewis. Yes, he'd been in communication, but he said he treated us like any other media or journalist and sometimes answering questions, not giving out inside information. YouTube channels like the Umbrellas Guy are not an exception to the rule. They are the rule, said Christopher Bouzy, founder and CEO of Bot Sentinel, a research firm specializing in disinformation. Well, yeah, he specializes in it all right because he spreads the disinformation, and he did so by editing out Tug's comments or his statements in his YouTubes. YouTube is telling women it's okay for men to publish and monetize videos insulting and demeaning women. That Umbrella Guy's YouTube videos have received over 116 million views, and YouTube has refused to take action. They've refused to take action because he's not done anything wrong. I can tell you, he's been mass reported. So many YouTubers have been mass reported, dogpiled on, same on Twitter. We're not violating the rules, so we're not getting shut down. Lewis did not respond directly to requests for a comment. He later published a video saying that in years past, he had not exclusively posted Amber Heard-related content, but that he had published content about comics. In a tweet after the Post sent him questions, he acknowledged his role as a leader of Comicsgate, a campaign beginning in 2018 that opposed diversity in the comic book world. Many of Lewis's earlier titles include attacks on social justice warriors and woke culture, such as social justice warriors ruin comics. This I can't comment on because I'm not in this industry and I don't watch these. It's not interesting to me. Then they're going to jump into the Meghan Markle. Well, that has nothing to do with that umbrella guy. So I think this is disingenuous. They pretty much showed, I'm not even going to share Bot Sentinel's report, but they pretty much showed that he and Ian Runkle's video is the best, how the Rolling Stones reported on it, but it's ineffective and just outright wrong to create a scenario by piecing together words and phrases 6 hours apart in a video. And sometimes another one, he was actually referencing James Franco, and they took his comments and spliced them together to try and make it sound like he was criticizing Amber Heard. That's not right. That's not right. Moving forward to some good news for Johny. Infinitum Nihil. Point 2 was opened in Europe about a year ago, and they now have their website up. This is the home page. If we go to About, IN2 is a brand new UK-based entertainment company garnering inspiration from original film scripts, works of literature, and plays to create film, stage, and television productions focusing on European sensibility combined with American accessibility. Founded by Johnny Depp in 2021 and owing in large measure to his reputation as an artist, IN2 inherits a tremendous depth of talent in relationships with writers, directors, producers, showrunners, and actors. Those relationships, along with an up-to-date understanding of the fast-evolving media landscape and its international components, are its strengths, and by working together will form a truly independent voice for the artist. Now, who is the team? Well, Johnny Depp's the chairman. Stephen Deuters, who was based out of the UK, is CEO. Stephen Malit, head of production. Vivi Stone, development and co-coordinator. Gina Deuters, head of marketing. Sam Sakar is the CEO of Infinitum Nihil in the US. So I think this is great that they're branching out, and hopefully they'll keep their news up to date with the latest, with Johnny going to be co-producing and directing the biopic Italian Arist. Goes by Modi, also co-produced with Al Pacino. The first image has been released from Jean de Barry's film, I think when they were launched in San Sebastian. So I hope they'll start putting more of the links to their titles that they've released. So that's exciting. And a little bit about Jean de Barry's film. Which is going to be a French Netflix release. And this is what they had to say on this. Wild Bunch International's Vincent Maraval on taking a bet on Johnny Depp, the need to take risks. Backing a film in which Johnny Depp will play French King Louis XV is what Wild Bunch International head Vincent Maraval describes as part of the risk-taking that is essential in his business. In a keynote interview with CAA Media Finance's Rogue Sutherland at San Sebastian's first Creative Investors Conference on Monday. Maraval discussed his 23 years in the business, failing to bet on Black Swan, but going for it with Depp's first film since the Amber Heard trial. The film, Jean de Barry, or I've seen it also referenced as The Favorite, is that sometimes we need to take a risk, and the risk is much higher, said Maraval. We are doing Johnny Depp playing Louis XV. People said, don't do a movie with him, but we liked it. I remember the discussion we had with the producer behind it, who said, do you think we're doing something stupid? And I said, probably, but what's left if not? Jean de Barry is based on a screenplay co-written by Francis May Wen, who will star and direct the French language film. They've been filming this since June 27th, I think, or July 27th. July 27th, I think they started filming around that time. And they are expecting to continue to film through October 11th, although I don't know how much longer Johnny will be needed there. Netflix is releasing this French language. I probably should. Netflix is releasing this French language production on SVOD. After a theatrical release in France. Wild Bunch is handling international sales, so I hope we'll be getting it here in the US. It will be in French. Maraval said during the keynote that his Jean de Barry partner, Netflix, was positive for the business. Netflix is a real force for us, he said. Of course, I work with them, and I think their chance to survive in cinema. The studios control 90% of the market for the first time in history. There's an independent company that has control. We know it won't last, And that'll be a parenthesis in history that the independents controlled the business. People complain about them, but I think it's our chance. And this is something that Johnny's been pushing, that, you know, these independent films are giving what the viewers want versus the big franchises, overdone recipes. We need to be able to take advantage of the streaming business to get stronger. I think that cinema distribution will survive for sure, but it'll be different. And that's coming out of the pandemic lockdown, of course. During the talk, Sutherland described Maraval as a big risk taker. Maraval pointed out that it doesn't mean that he's always makes the right decision. The company passed on Natalie Portman's Black Swan, but if I'd made that film, I would have been incredibly rich and had been able to finance independent films forever, he said. Like Netflix, Wild Bunch has made changes to adapt to the business. The international pre-sales market has declined as the streamers have arrived. It merged with Germany's Senator in 2015 and has a network of other partners. Today, we have a structure in Spain and Italy. We try to do Eastern Europe and Asia, but it's more difficult now in Asia. The idea is to create outside some small entities that generate IP. They've also expanded beyond international sales to become what Maraval calls a co-producer, to help producers make films at the early stage. I think when we made changes, we knew that international sales were no longer the main business we should be dealing with. So we decided to source talent and become a co-producer. We decided we needed to make more control of the source. I think that's really interesting. And this is what Johnny's been saying at many of the film festivals he's been speaking at. Taking risks on this type of radical cinema, as we called it, has paid off in more ways than one. Maraval said Wild Bunch survived the pandemic much better than companies doing middle-of-the-road films, even if his type of cinema is more risky to make. We never realize when we take risk, which is why we take risk, he said. We failed when we were developing the companies where we should have taken more time to think about the structure, but we always failed because of passion. By doing something we should not have done, we got somewhere. I don't individualize the losses. If we lost money on, say, Gasper's Nose, Enter the Void, it led us to doing other films. Although decisions do sometimes create false impressions, it's Wild Bunch. It's the same guy that told me Black Swan was weird, Maraval quipped. So that's that. One thing I love is that Dior is continuing to support Johnny, and they've put out more on their site. Let me see if I can get to that. Yeah, here is their Instagram site, Dior Beauty, and we've got several new Johnny posts that they're still putting up. Profound and authentic. Do that one. We have this one.
We are essentially receivers with regard to everything we experience in life. So it's the same thing with music, because if you put on a Marvin Gaye song from the 70s, boom, you're transported. It's kind of a beautiful and very abstract way of traveling emotionally.
And Dior, more than ever, Johnny Depp is the soul of Sauvage. That's a statement. They're really pushing on the reels, a lot of Sauvage, 186,000, 159,000, 355,000, 450,000. So it's really been going great. And what else have we got? I love that we get more news media with Johnny's old films. Now, when Johnny went to Glastonbury, he presented films at during their film night. They also have obviously bands all night, all over the place. But he presented some films, and one of the ones was his favorite was Dead Man. And let's see if I can get that up for you. So this article is about his co-star. Nobody Speaks, Gary Farmer on Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man. And this is him. Canadian-born Native American actor Gary Farmer served as the moral conscience and spiritual center of Jim Jarmusch's film Dead Man, a cosmic reimagining of the American Western. Farmer portrays a Native American who had been abducted as a young man by English soldiers, taken to London, and then returned to his homeland, only to be given the mocking name of Nobody, or Zabesh, he who talks loudly, saying nothing. David Stewart talked with Farmer about his lasting influence of the Jarmusch's film. The Hollywood Western is as complex and expansive as the sweeping vistas of the American Southwest. In 1995, Jim Jarmusch, one of America's revered independent filmmakers, defied the traditional conventions of the Western with his cosmic celebration of Native Americans' Dead Man. Inspired by Native American literature, the poetry of William Blake, and the revisionist Westerns of screenwriter Rudy Wurlitzer, Tulane Blacktop, and Pat Garrett and Billy Kidd, the film stars Johnny Depp, who plays William Blake, a naively meek accountant who is expected to work in the industrial town of Machine for the cigar-chomping industrialist John Dickinson, played by Richard Mitchum in his last on-screen performance. Machine, the nightmarishly Dickensian town, does not welcome Blake with open arms after a romantic encounter with a woman selling paper flowers, leads Blake to shoot her murderous fiancé, who happens to be Dickinson's son. With a lead bullet embedded in his chest, Blake wakes up in the woods being tended by a mystical Native American named Nobody, played by Gary Farmer, who was born in Cayuga Nation and Wolf Clan of the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy. Sorry. Uncertain if Blake is dead or alive, nobody sees Blake not as a meek accountant, but as the 18th century English poet seeking redemption through gunfire as they travel through the Northwest while a bounty is on Blake's head. Along the way, they encounter a series of vile characters, including a bonnet-wearing Iggy Pop, his character's name is Sally, and the Philistine ravaging Billy Bob Thornton and Jared Harris. I know if I play these, I will get copyrighted, so don't forget the links will be down the bottom. Upon its initial release, Dead Man received little reverence from critics and audiences. Disgraced Miramax founder and convicted predator Harvey Weinstein released Dead Man to a small theatrical audience after Jarmusch refused to allow him to interfere with its final cut. This led the film to losing out on awards consideration and laurels from Hollywood. This is the same thing that happened to Johny with The Libertine. Harvey did the same thing. 25 years later, the film stands as a testament to not only Jarmusch's independent spirit, but as a warm embrace of the Native American culture, a far cry from the vilification and demonization of Native Americans seen in Hollywood, dating back to the silent films of D.W. Griffith, up to the forgettable 2015 Netflix comedy, The Ridiculous Six, which led the North American crew members walking off the set in disgust. According to Gary Farmer, Jim Jarmusch is the farthest thing from Hollywood. Calling from Washington State, the 67-year-old Canadian-born actor reflected on one of the most iconic performances, along with the continued ignorance towards Native Americans in the wake of Donald Trump's July 4th fireworks celebration at Mount Rushmore. Farmer says the ignorance is profound in America on a lot of things. Certainly their own history is probably the most relevant one. And they've been lied to for so long that they actually have a liar for a president. That's America. They've never been able to deal with reality, and it gets absurd with me. When you think of the whole 4th of July celebration on Mount Rushmore, you just think, how fucked up is this? That literally had to self-identify themselves on a mountain and then brainwash the people for so long, and we're still not even in the news. They didn't even consider us. Raised in the Northeast, mostly in Buffalo, New York, Farmer's worldview was shaped by the political and cultural events that surrounded him. I went to a community college for police science and lied my way into Syracuse because Attica had just happened, the deadly riot at Attica State Prison in September 71. And I realized this is fucked up. As a young Native guy, I really had it going on to think that and realize that I have to conform to society to be a cop. So I became a filmmaker and went to Syracuse, but I had to lie to continue getting my tuition reimbursed. So I told him I wanted to be an FAI agent in 1973, the year of Wounded Knee, but it worked out. After years of acting on stage, Farmer gained recognition for his performance in George Harrison's produced film, Powwow Highway. When penning Dead Men, Jarmusch remembered Farmer's performance and traveled out to his home. Looking back, Farmer recalled, I was pretty impressed that I got him to travel outside of New York and come to Ontario, out into the bush where I was. I used to say that I had my own reservation. I had about 400 acres there, a pretty unadulterated forest and water. It was kind of the end of the Ice Age, stopped just miles up the way. Before filming got underway, Farmer did extensive research with James Red Cloud, whom he met while working on Powwow Highway. I went back to Northern Cheyenne, and I did a fasting there with Jimmy Red Cloud at the time, who is now gone for 3 days. I did it for other things too, but I did it for the film, trying to figure my way through that. At the time, I wasn't thinking it was a regurgitation of American film culture, a twisting of it. I never even thought of that before making the film. When it came time to shoot the film's final shootout between Nobody and Lance Hendrickson, Farmer questioned Jarmusch's decision for Nobody to die. I was at the age 52, I guess, where dealing with your own death is quite significant, especially for men. I think more so than women regarding your own legacy and all that. So I was arguing with Jim a lot as we grew closer to the ending and realized that, hey, I'm supposed to die too. It wasn't Dead Man, Jim. It's Dead Man. I mean, only Johnny Depp's character is supposed to die. I argued that the meek inherited the earth, and I was trying to quote him in the Bible and all of that to argue my point. I thought it was a great ending. Farmer would briefly appear as Nobody opposite Forrest Whitaker in Jarmusch's 1999 hit film, Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. After the shoot wrapped, Farmer formed a strong friendship with the film's composer and fellow Canadian, Neil Young. The music the background music for this film is amazing. Neil Young. Like Ennio Morricone's music for Sergio Leone's Westerns, Young's raw electric guitar-fused score became the centerpiece for Dead Man. Farmer was planning on forming a radio network that would broadcast all over Canada, and Neil Young was in his corner. People thought I was trying to be Ted Turner, even though I was doing on the network was nonprofit, unlike CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corp. I couldn't get public funding, so Neil put me on a concert along with 3 other nonprofits and gave me $35,000 4 days later. No one's ever done that. Neil's a good man. After Dead Man, I followed him and Crazy Horse around. Farmer shows no signs of slowing down. He's recently seen in Kelly Reichardt's widely acclaimed film First Cow and is planning to record new music with his band, The Troublemakers, for a forthcoming album. When reflecting on the legacy of Dead Man, Farmer's excitement is evident in our phone call. There are a lot of films to talk about for the Native American point of view, but I think it's certainly one of the biggies. For me, for my own career, I'm certainly grateful of it. Personally, I've been sitting here waiting to be in Jim's next film. Farmer working with Jarmusch holds special meaning to him, having worked for Jim long enough. I think there's a large theme in his whole canon of films, which is an ongoing search for as an artist. Not a lot of people can see that, or I haven't seen a lot of people write about that. So I'm just sitting here with bated breath waiting, not so much because it's a gig, far from it, because I feel I'm a spoke in his wheel throughout his career, and I just feel like part of his family, which I love. And I thought that was great to be bringing out more of Johnny's old films, and they're still talking about them. They're still relevant in the news. Just a quick update. I neglected to include Alice Cooper and his band, Sorry, and he is now on tour. And you just have to go to hisAliceCooper.com and you'll see his dates. And Jeff Beck and Johnny Depp would have been kicking off their tour October 1st together, promoting his album. We're still wondering if Johnny will be free for the first October 1st concert or the next one, October 4th in DC. Time will tell. The filming is due to end somewhere around October 11th, but that doesn't mean that Johnny's part isn't finished yet. I want to touch base and a little update on the appeal that's going on. I know this is very small to see. I don't know if I can get it any better. But this is the Court of Appeals website for Virginia. You search Depp, and the lower tribunal happened to be the Fairfax County, and he will come up as both his case and her case. So let's just take a look at what we're looking at here. All right, so he's been given a cab number. It's a civil case. This is John as the appellant, so this is his appeal against Amber Heard. They've automatically pulled in his attorneys from the case. We haven't seen any new ones added. He's appealing against Amber Heard. These are her on-record attorneys from the case. Now, the CAV, or the Notice of Appeal, was received July 22nd. Then Fairfax had to pull together all the court records that were relevant for the appeals and send them over to the Virginia Appeals Court. They were finally received on September 23rd. That's all we have so far. But what that does now is kick off the dates, the countdown dates. And I'll get to that, but I'll show you Amber's while we're here. She is the appellant in this one. She's appealing against the verdict against her. These are her lawyers. Her new lawyers have been added at the end. Elaine Braderhoff is still on there, I assume because she's a turn in a record, or they just haven't filed to remove her. And there's Johnny's. Again, she filed notice in Virginia on July 21st that she was going to appeal, and Fairfax has now sent over the records. So what happens? Lawton Lumber put out on his Twitter a flow chart of the record filed with the Court of Appeals. And that's the court record that they've sent over all their stuff. The designation of appendix identifying parts of the record relevant to the COA, Court of Appeals, for consideration. If both parties agree, they have up until a joint designation filed within 15 days of the record to be filed. If parties don't agree on a designation, then the appellant files designation of appendix with assignments of error within 15 days of the recording. The appellee then files its designation and list within 10 days of that error. So if they find that the court didn't send something over, or they're gone through some transcripts and they find some errors, they can correct that. But the most important thing is, assuming everybody accepts what the court records is sent over, opening briefs within 40 days of designation of appendix. Records been sent in, and then they'll create this appendix. So I pulled this from his flow chart. Both parties have, that we are aware of, has posted a $500 bond that goes toward the legal costs of an appeal. Neither party, to our knowledge, has posted the suspension bond. The suspension bond would keep either party from collecting. Johny couldn't collect his 10 million plus. Amber Heard can't collect her 2 million plus. They don't offset each other because they're two separate rulings. 60 days from the date of judgment, 6/24, to supplement the record for transcripts. That should be done. Fairfax has sent everything over. The non-filing party has 15 days from filing any transcripts to object. For example, transcript errors or anything, and that would be Monday, although they're sending over a lot. Now, this is Johnny's side, but it's basically flip. 40 days after the record is filed, November 2nd, the brief is due. Amber Heard's counter brief or response will be due December 2nd. His final reply will be due 14 days after that. So this is notes from Lawton Lumber. The parties agree on scope of appendix and file a joint appendix designation, or the parties don't agree on the scope of appendix. If parties don't agree on appendix, then appellant, in this case, Johny, files designation in 15 days of record being filed, along with assignments of error, what the trial court got wrong. The appellee, Amber, has 10 days to file designation along with any additional assignments of error. And the same file, because she pretty much, the court record came on the same date as Johnny's, so it triggers off the same calendar. Again, she's put up a $500 bond. We have no knowledge of a suspension bond. Andrea Burkhart did call a while ago. So they have non-filing party. I have this backwards. Sorry. Non-filing party has 15 days to file any transcripts to object to any court transcript errors. Amber has to file her brief the same day as Johnny's, November 2nd. So again, there's two separate cases. Remember, she's appealing the verdict against her. He's appealing a verdict against him. Johny has 30 days to file his response brief to her, and that should be December 2nd. And this is all tentative. These dates can change, but right now that's the schedule it's supposed to follow. Lawton Lumber also made this major caveat. All of these dates and deadlines are the default deadlines and can be changed by the Court of Appeals or motion by either or both parties. Yes, we sometimes file joint motions to extend deadlines or increase page limits. So that was a note from him. And again, that is what he has on his Twitter. And I will have these links below so that you can go find them yourself. So that's what I have for today. still a busy week. There may still be more to come. If they do, I will add them on to the end of this. Otherwise, I appreciate if you can like and subscribe and share my videos. I really appreciate it. And I'm just excited to be here. So thanks for watching and have a great day.